Most of the games I talk about on the channel are ones in which I've played at some point previously in my life. This is no exception, having only played it once at a friend's house way back in 2001. I was never able to play it again, unfortunately, but over a decade later, I moved out of my parents' house, had some disposable income, smartphones weren't quite as popular or affordable, and YouTube had just begun to be a big deal. I always remembered that one Nintendo 64 game I played at that kid's house, but I could never find information about it. Wasn't until recently, believe it or not, that I found the title of said game. This is Tom and Jerry Fists of Furry for the Nintendo 64. Fists of Furry is a 3D arena-style fighting game where you have 2 rounds to defeat your opponent with unlimited continues if you fail both rounds. Fists of Furry was likely inspired by Power Stone on the Dreamcast, which is the game that popularized that subgenre. You play as one of 7 characters from the show, 5 of which have to be unlocked, and you have the option to play through one of 2 game modes. The 1 player, which is the main mode, or you can go head-to-head in 2-player mode. I remember the 2-player mode being absolutely fun, though I cannot comment further due to not having a second person to play with. Psst, cue the sad music. That's okay though, because the single-player mode is fun. Like I mentioned before, you can play as one of 7 characters you've likely seen from the show, like Spike and his son Tyke, Butch the cat, Quacker the duck, and Jerry's cousin, Tuffy. Not to mention the obvious Tom and Jerry. Each character fights the same way with no clear advantage between them. Being a kid's game, the combat is pretty simple. You can jump, duck, punch, grab objects and throw them. You can even catch things that are thrown at you to chuck back at them. Every now and again you'll encounter question marks that work as random power-ups like a stronger attack or a shield that will work for a limited amount of time. The game gives you objects to throw or equip. When using a weapon like a plank of wood or a shovel, you can knock health packs out of your opponent that either of you can pick up. When jumping back in the game for me, I was caught off guard, thinking it was a much harder game than I remembered. Once you realize melee attacks alone won't help you, you quickly learn how to play Fists of Furry the way it was intended to be played, especially when the opponent gets priority if you smack each other at the same time. The CPU can be ferocious, coming after you with weapons, or they may try to keep space between you so they can get you with throwable objects. From my experience, the best strategy to get you through the main single-player mode is a mix of both melee and throwing objects. Depending on where the opponent is on stage, you need to rely on throwing things until you see an opening to use weapons or melee attacks when they get close. Collect as many power-ups as possible. Never stop moving. If you leave them with hardly anything to use against you on stage, you're more likely to win. You gotta outpace your opponent. Graphically, Fists of Furry looks nice for a release late in the Nintendo 64's lifespan. The character models are animated quite well, and are more expressive than other character models of the era. Locales are reminiscent of the old cartoons, and the action reminds me of the slapstick comedy to a wonderful degree, even going as far as to have destructible environments. The game feels like a celebration of the Tom and Jerry cartoons of the past. Although I like the game, it's too bad there isn't 4-person multiplayer. Not that I would have the people to play it with. Okay, you can stop that now. For what it's worth, Tom and Jerry and Fists of Furry is a good time. The challenge kept me playing until the next fight. When I lose, there's enough drive in me to see the game to the end. However, once you unlock the other 5 characters, there isn't much of a reason to keep playing. The game is short, but if you're in a Tom and Jerry kick, this will satisfy your itch to play the video game equivalent of the cartoon. If you've watched up to this point, thank you very much. I would like to share some of my favorite and most memorable episodes from Tom and Jerry, just in case anyone was wondering. These are in no particular order. Then perhaps my 2 favorite episodes, one of which is Jerry's cousin. Now, Jerry's cousin, not Tuffy, is really strong and looks identical. Tom doesn't know this and thinks he's picking on Jerry, with each bit ending in Tom's injury. My favorite scene has Tom with his shotgun out. The cousin takes a deep breath and blows into the shotgun from the front of the barrel, causing the shells to pop out at the other end of the barrel and get stuck in Tom's eyes. The mouse then walks up behind him, smacks him in the back of the head with a hammer, causing the shells to explode, resulting in one of the funniest stills in all of cartoon history. Then, perhaps my favorite, Mouse Trouble. We see Tom reading a book about how to catch a mouse. Much to his dismay, it doesn't work. There are a few things I enjoy about this short. I like seeing Tom bungee to a tree, swallowing a mouse toy that says, "Come up and see me sometime," which is a naughty reference for the time period. And my favorite thing in the entire show, Tom sits on a bear trap and screams so loud he jolts through the ceiling with muffled screams since his head is now through the upstairs floor. This is the absolute funniest scream I've ever heard. Are you a fan of Tom and Jerry? Have you ever played Fists of Furry? Were there any great episodes I missed? Make sure to let me know in the comments.